of all, the Shlit is dedicated Le'ilui Nishmosam V'Lezichram, the parents of our dear, dear friend, the Pesach Ledereich. It was such a pleasure to meet the Pesach a few weeks ago when I was in America. And I hope you're walking without crutches. I don't know, but you should have a refuah shalema. And the Torah should be Le'ilui Nishmos Mordechai Yecheskel ben Rabbi Sol Tzvi and Esther Rivka, Morris Esther Rivka Bas Borach. Shianichu b'sholom al mashkovim. They should be Melitzi Yosha for their wonderful children. And I'm sure they have so much nachas up there in Gan Eden. And also for the Chosan Akala, Borach Zev and Shira. Borach Zev is Dr. Ledereich's son, and he got engaged, and they should build a Bayis Godel B'Yisrael and a Bayis Nemon B'Yisrael, and you should have so much nachas. But Pesach, you should be able to dance at your children's wedding. So the topic we will be discussing today is the topic of machshirim. And it is a fascinating discussion. Like many shiurim I've been giving in the past few months, in a way, it has to do with a special situation and the war we are in. So we start off with a Bavli and Yerushalmi. We deal with Jews waging war on Shabbos. Tanu Rabbanon, ein mafligin besfina. Very well-known halacha. But we focus on the Sefer. Tanu Rabbanon, ein tzoren ala yorei shenochlim poches megim al yomem koidim Shabbos. When you lay siege to a city, don't do it 3 days before Shabbos. However, if you are already fighting, it's a pasuk in Pasha Shoftim. When you lay siege on a city, you fight them ad ridata, till the enemy is destroyed. And Shammai Azokan said, Adridata afil b'Shabbos. Similar sugi in Yerushalmi, Shabbos left with Gimel, but the Yerushalmi has a Tosefes, an addition that we don't find in Bavli. The Yerushalmi brings an additional source to prove that you are allowed to fight wars on Shabbos. Ein makifin ir shel akum poches megimel yomam koidem l'Shabbos. And the Yerushalmi differentiates. That's only Melchemes Elishus, Melchemes Mitzvah Pero B'Shabbos. Soita Mem Dalad Umed Beis. The Gemara deals. What is Melchemes Elishus? What is Melchemes Mitzvah? So the king of Israel has a right to go to war, even for financial purposes. We need more territory. We need more water. We need more resources. But when Jewish people are attacked, that's a Melchemes Mitzvah. And then the Yerushalmi says, Sheken matzinu shelo nich b'sheyorichu ela b'Shabbos. B'chsev, koi taseh sheishes yomim, b'yom hashvi, t'soi v'yasu ir sheva pa'omim. So the Jewish people conquered Yericho on Shabbos. B'chsev, ad ridata, afilu b'Shabbos. So war overrides Shabbos. To what degree? So let me share with you some of the questions we've been dealing with since this war broke out. Yes, the war goes on Shabbos. We can't give the enemy a break every Shabbos and let him regroup and recuperate and rearm. How far does this go? So when soldiers are called up, could they leave their homes and drive down south or up north? It's not waging war, but it's machshirin, it's preparing. I've been asked so many times, soldiers are in Gaza, and they're tired. Sometimes the battle goes on for days, and a soldier feels he's falling asleep. He needs a coffee. Could he boil water Shabbos in the morning just in an Arab house to drink a coffee? Or he feels he needs something, which he only could achieve in Chodesh Shabbos. And what is the importance of emotional and mental and psychological calm. So there are so many questions that are not dealing directly with war, shooting your gun or your cannon on Shabbos. Machshirim. So the sugya of machshirim is a complicated one. We skip number 3 for a few minutes and we go over to number 4. That is the fundamental machlokes Rebbe Eliezer Rebbe Kiva regarding milas haben. Rebbe Eliezer Omer, im lo yavi kli me'erev Shabbos mevi'o b'Shabbos. The moil forgot the second shel milah, or any other thing that is essential for the bris. You could bring it on Shabbos. Oidom Rebbe Eliezer. Korsem eitzem lasses pachman lasses kli barzol. If the male needs to sterilize the second shel milah, you could chop wood, stoke a fire, boil water to sterilize the second shel milah. Rebbe Eliezer maintains machshirei milah doichen Shabbos. Rebbe Kiva disagrees. V'halochik Rebbe Kiva. Klal omer Rebbe Kiva. Kol maruch Hashem shel asoysa me'erev Shabbos eina doiches Shabbos. And therefore, machshirim are not doiches Shabbos. Only the actual meal is doiches Shabbos, not machshir. Source number 5 is an equivalent sugya in Psochim regarding korban oisibu. Machshirei korban, bringing the korban machutz l'tchum. Ele dvorim b'Pesach doichen es Shabbos shchita, tzedikis adam, aktoris chalavov. We need to bring the animal, whether it's an oxen or a sheep or a goat. Ein doichen es Shabbos. Rebbe Eliezer Omer doichen. So Rebbe Eliezer's opinion is both milah and korban oisibu. It's not only the avodas korban is doichen Shabbos. Machshirim is also doichen Shabbos, and the same regarding milah. In both these halachas, halacha Rebbe Kiva, we go up to source number 3. A Gemara in Rosh Hashanah, the Mishnah, Mi sheroas HaChodesh ve'eni yochel lahalech. There's a mitzvah. Anybody that saw the new moon comes to Beis Din and he testifies, I saw that sliver of a moon. And then Beis Din is Mekadesh HaChodesh. And if the person is handicapped or an elderly person and he can't walk, we set him up on an animal, we bring him to Beis Din. And if he's in bed, we'll bring him in the bed. If they have to pass a forest and Robin Hood is lurking in the forest, then we will take our arms, guns or sticks, just to keep the aid safe. And then the other Mishnah, Daf Chav Beis, is so the tzedakим used to cause huge problems. They used to send an aid to Beis Din lying, and therefore Chachamim were metaken. We do not accept testimony only from a person we know, and he has a cheskes kashrus. And if we don't know him, then there need to be 2 Eidim to testify that he is an Adam kosher, that he belongs to the Prushim and not the Tzedokim. And the Rambam writes, Perek Gimel Halacha Gimel of Hilchos Kiddush HaChodesh, that even those Eidim that come to testify on the kashrus of an Eid are also Mechalel Shabbos. So it is obvious that regarding Kiddush HaChodesh, Machshirim is Doiche Shabbos. And the Pnei Yeshua asks, what is the difference? Why regarding Milah and Korban Oisibu, we say Machshirim are not Doiche Shabbos? And regarding Kiddush HaChodesh, Machshirim is Doiche Shabbos. Let's scroll down to the Pnei Yeshua. I think it's number 7 on our sheet. And then we'll come back to number 6. Pnei Yeshua, Ho vadei kasheli, de bepesach v'tomed v'mile gufa kaimer on the yei machshirin doichen Shabbos. וכן היכד אפשר לקיים שניהם. וכן היכד בעידנא דמי הכליו לא מקיים עשה. ועמי לא ילפינן מהוכא דאף אגב דלקה קולני, אפילו הוכי דוכי. דו עיקרו עשה לא יעידם כהל על בייזן, ועידם מכשירן דומי. אפשר גם לקדש למוכא, ויש לי ישב, but he doesn't say what he has in mind. ויש לי ישב. And then the Pnei Yeshua writes that the entire concept that we're machal Shabbos for Kiddush HaChodesh is only machamer. Nobody agrees with that. The pastors, the Lashon of the Mishnah and the Rambam, we're machal Shabbos, whatever it takes. It's not only machamer. So the Pnei Yeshua maintains that the sticks and the food and the bed, everything is carried by animals, and it's only machamer. But in the Rambam is mashma, it's a gzeres hakosav. So what is the difference? Let us go back to source number 6. And that is sugya number 5 we touch upon. Machshirei oichel nefesh Yom Tov. So this is a long sugya. What is really relevant is the last line. Amar Rav Chisda deloike Rabbi Yehuda desanya. Ein ben Yom Tov l'Shabbos ela oichel nefesh belvad. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, Rabbi Yehuda matir, af machshirei oichel nefesh. Machshirei oichel nefesh. You could cook, you could bake. Anything that is directly needed to put food on the table, Yom Tov, is mutar. Machshirei oichel nefesh. We want to bring a saken shel shchita. Bringing the saken is not direct oichel nefesh, it's machshirei oichel nefesh. We want to bring an animal from chutz l'tchum. Machshirei oichel nefesh is a machloikis. Rabbi Yehuda is matir, halacha kechachamim, asu. So we have a few sugyas. Regarding Korban Siva, Pesach, Tomid, and Mila, machloikis, Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Kiva. Regarding Maleches Leichel Nefesh Yom Tov, machloikis Chachamim and Rabbi Yehuda, and that's a later generation of Tanoim. Rabbi Yehuda was a Talmud of Rabbi Kiva. So obviously it's not the same. And there need to be a reason to differentiate between Pesach and Karbonis and Oichel Nefesh. Source number 3 is Kiddush HaChodesh, and everyone agrees by Kiddush HaChodesh, even Machshirin are Doicha Shabbos. So what is the difference? On our source sheet, we have 3 great Gedolim, Reb Moshe, Reb Shlomo Zalman, and Reb Chaim Kanievsky. But before seeing what they suggest, I want to share with you my mahalach and what I think is right. So listen carefully, because I think it makes a lot of sense. Korban and Mila are one category. Oichel Nefesh number 2. Kiddush HaChodesh number 3. Why? Karbonis and Mila, by their very essence, are Chilul Shabbos. Netilas Neshama. You're drawing blood. By Mila, you cut off the orla and you do Priya and Metzitza. That is Netilas Neshama, drawing blood. Choyvel b'chaveroi. And the same by Karbonis Shchita. So we're dealing with a Masa Mesuyim. So our interpretation would be the Torah is matir etzem hamila v'shchitas hakorban. We have no reason to go beyond that. Who says the Torah is matir machshirin? On the other end of the spectrum is Kiddush HaChodesh. Because Kiddush HaChodesh, in normal circumstances, does not necessarily involve Chilul Shabbos. Where's the Chilul Shabbos? Ed saw the Lavona. and he lives 5 minutes from the basement, walks over to the basement, knocks on the door. They don't have a motion-activated system. You don't need to ring a bell. They didn't use electricity 3,000 years ago. So where's the Chilul Shabbos? So when the Torah is matir Chilul Shabbos for Eidis HaChodesh, it is always machshirim, because the etzem act of Kiddush HaChodesh does not necessarily involve Chilul Shabbos. So what is the Torah matir? It is always machshirim. Because it's not a Maisa Mesuyim that the Torah is matir, like Mila and Shlitas HaKorban. So obviously the Kavonas of Torah is, you could do anything that needs to be done based on should be Mekadosh as a Chodesh. It's always about Machshirim. Yesh Machshirim Kroivim, Yesh Machshirim Rechoikim. So when the Edom are Machal Shabbos, in order to get the basin, that's Machshirim. When the second set of Edom are Machal Shabbos to get to the basin to testify that the first set of Edom are Anoshim Sheirim, that's a farther concept of Machshirim. And when we need to bring food because the aid has a long way to go, and we need to bring weapons because we need to pass a forest and we might be attacked, that is quite a distant Machshirim, but Machshirim are Machshirim. And it's always about Machshirim because the etzem act of Kiddush HaChodesh doesn't involve Chilul Shabbos. Oichel Nefesh is somewhere between the two. On one hand, it is not a certain specific Chilul Shabbos which is clearly defined, like Mila and Shlitas HaKorban. Oichel Nefesh might involve very many malachas and different ones. When you're dealing with fruits and vegetables, it's koitzer. You could pluck an apple off the tree. When you're dealing with chalas for Yom Tov, it would involve different malachas, primarily lush and oifa. If you want to eat meat, it would involve natilas neshama, mafshit, mevashel. So Oichel Nefesh is not one specific act. It is an entire set. And that is why, even if we say Machshirei Mila are not Doicher Shabbos like Rebbe Kiva, there still is room to say Machshirei Nefesh is Doicher Shabbos. So I want to make a powerful argument. Rebbe Yehuda is a Talmud of Rebbe Kiva. Rebbe Kiva already paskin by Mila and Karbonis, Machshirei are not Doicher Shabbos. And Rabbi Yehuda is the one to say, but Oichel Nefesh, it is Doicher Shabbos. Does he disagree with his Rebbe? Does he side with his Rebbe's Bar Plukta? So we must assume that even according to the Rebbe Kiva, that Machshir and Mila and Pesach and Tomer are not Doicher Shabbos, it may very well be that Machshir and Oichel Nefesh are Doicher Shabbos. And the reason is, as I explained, Mila and Shchita are clearly defined. The Torah is matir choivel. The Torah is matir netilas neshama for Mila and for Pesach. Oichel Nefesh is different. Oichel Nefesh could be a dozen malachas and different ones. It depends what type of a food you want to prepare for your Yom Tov meal. Is it bread? Is it fruits? Is it meat? Is it chicken? Is it beef? Different malachas. And therefore, Rabbi Yehuda says, even though I agree with my great Rebbe, by Mila and Karbonis, Machshir and Doicher Shabbos, Oichel Nefesh is different. Halacha kechachamim, Machshir and Oichel Nefesh are prohibited in Yom Tov. By Kiddush HaChodesh, everyone agrees, Machshirin are mutar, as I explained. Because Oichel Nefesh usually always involves a malacha. Mevashel, oife, shoichet, koitzer. But testimony doesn't involve a malacha. So by Kiddush HaChodesh, if the Torah is matir Chilul Shabbos, goes without saying, it would be machshirin that the Torah has in mind. Where does war fit in? I think war is entirely similar to Kiddush HaChodesh. Because war could mean 1,000 things. War is not only stabbing the enemy in his chest. War is laying a siege to a city. War is intimidating enemies. War is taking enemies into captivity, prisoners of war. War is 1,000 things. And therefore, like by Kiddush HaChodesh, war doesn't necessarily involve Chilul Shabbos. And if it does, usually it would be defined as Pikuach Nefesh anyway. So we don't need a special heter of Adridito. The Sfas Emes in Shabbos Yutes has a very powerful argument, and he says, if we learn from a pasuk that war overrides Shabbos, it's not because of Pikuach Nefesh. If it's Pikuach Nefesh and Atzolos Nefesh, we don't need Adridito. And we don't need the Yerushalmi's proof from Kibush Yericho. So this Sfas Emes says, war overrides Shabbos, even though we could wait till after Shabbos. You don't need to wait. That is halacha that Malchama Doiche Shabbos. So I think Machshirei Malchama is Doiche Shabbos like Machshirei Kiddush HaChodesh. The Torah is Matir Chilul Shabbos for war. It is the outcome. The Torah is Matir Chilul Shabbos to bring victory, to destroy the enemy. And therefore, whatever it's needed and whatever it takes, override Shabbos. So actually, we touched upon 5 different sugyas, and we break them into 3 categories. Mila and korban isidor, machloikes lebeleze v'rebekiva. Halochik rebekiva, machshira mila, machshira korban, einam doiche Shabbos. And then oichel nefesh, machloikes chachamim v'Rebbi Yehuda. Rebbi Yehuda is a Talmud of Rebbi Akiva, and he says machshira and oichel nefesh are doiche Shabbos. So we must assume Rebbi Yehuda doesn't disagree with his great Rebbe, Halochik Rebbi Akiva, Mechaveirov, but he says Malachas Oichel Nefesh is different, and he explained why. Because Mila and Korban are clearly defined. Shlit, Netilas Nishama. Oichel Nefesh could be very many different malachas, and therefore Rebbi Yehuda argues Machshirim Doiche Shabbos, Kiddush HaChodesh. It's clear in the Mishnah, Machshirim are Doiche Shabbos. Pnei Yeshua asks why. I think I explained why. And I think war would be similar to Kiddush HaChodesh. Let's have a look at the Minchas Shloima. Source number 8. Second paragraph. First paragraph, he only asks the questions. Venera la'ani azdaiti. I don't really understand what Reb Shlomo Zalman wants to say. Kiven shalom do begemora mekro da al kriyosan atu mechal al Shabbos. Mashvinen Kiddush HaChodesh lepikuach nefesh. Shedoiche Shabbos dialpina mevachai v'en v'lo shiyomes b'hem. O mitzvah lechal Shabbos afilu al machshirin. V'gam al sofek rochek ma'oi. V'ein ze shayach klal aklol edesa doiche lois esa. But why? Why would Kiddush HaChodesh be in any way related to pikuach nefesh? It's not pikuach nefesh. So what does Reb Shlomo Zalman mean when he says, Kivan shalom do mikro the Yom Shabbos? We also know that Korban Pesach is Doiche Shabbos, and Korban Tumen is Doiche Shabbos, and Mila is Doiche Shabbos, and we do not compare them to Pikuach Nefesh. So why would Kiddush HaChodesh be comparable to Pikuach Nefesh more than Mila or Pesach or Tumen? I don't know. I don't know what Reb Shlomo Zalman means to say. The Igros Moshe actually deals with another question. And the Igros Moshe asks, why does the Gemara say, even if there are 100 Eidim, all are Mechalel Shabbos? So Rabbi Gamliel once prevented, he held up the Eidim. No, stay home, don't come, we already have enough Eidim. And Rabbi Akiva said, Ato machshilan lo asad lavoi. Let them all be Mechalel Shabbos. Why don't we say the same by Pikuach Nefesh? If there's no more need for Chilul Shabbos, we would prevent Chil Shabbos that is unneeded, uncalled for. So why would this be different? So the Moshe suggests a few interesting stories. First paragraph, an interesting svara. It's about 8 lines down. שתיקון כל החדושים מהמצווה אחס, ולכן שייך שגם היום יחללו בשביל חודש של שונה אחרת. So, the Gemara tells the story. Many Eidim came, and Rabbi Akiva felt, why be Mechal Shabbos? There were enough Eidim. And Rabbi Gamliel said, no. So next month, or next year, they won't come. And therefore, let them be Machal Shabbos. And Moshe asks, we don't find a similar argument anywhere. So he has an interesting svara. Kiddush, all the months are one mitzvah, the same mitzvah. And therefore, you could be Machal Shabbos today, for Kiddush HaChodesh next year. Doesn't matter whether you're Machal Shabbos for Kiddush HaChodesh here, or you're Machal Shabbos for a future Kiddush HaChodesh, which is an interesting spot. I was gratified to see, we scroll down to the last source on our sheet, which is not the last, number 11. Shekel HaKodesh is Reb Chaim's Sefer on Kiddush HaChodesh. And like all Reb Chaim's forum, it's amazing. And I think that Reb Chaim says something similar to what I tried to explain before. Let's read it. Let's go through the first section. So the Gemara says, Kol Mokom Shenema Moyed Doiches Shabbos. V'yaprak av the Moyed Loi Nemer Eru Al Kriyas HaMoyed V'Loi Al Oedim Shebo Am L'Hayit. Tzorach Loima. The Kiven the Kriyas HaMoyed Ein Shayach V'Chel Shabbos Al Korchach Ose L'Hechsher HaMitzvah. U'Bezeh Miyushav Ma Sheher Al Avish. I'm not aware of the Lavush. I don't know where the Lavush is. I need to look it up. He brings that the Lavush has, V'kol Mokom Machshir HaMitzvah Ein Derech Shabbos V'lama Kan Dochim. That is what I brought from the Pnei Yehoshua. Reb Chaim quotes it from the Lavush. I wonder where that Lavush is. Because the Lavush is on Shulchan Aruch. Kiddush HaChodesh is not noeg b'zman hazeh. I will try to find that Lavush. But it's the same question that Pnei Yehoshua asks. And I think Reb Chaim says, but it's what I said. The kol ha'posek rak al machshirim. So Reb Chaim says, Kiddush HaChodesh does not necessitate Chil Shabbos at all. The Eidim come into Beis, they testify, we saw the new moon, and Beis convenes and sits together and they say, Makudish, Makudish, Makudish. So when the Torah is Matir Chil Shabbos for Kiddush HaChodesh, it necessarily means for Hechsher Mitzvah. And that is the teretz on the Kasha of the Lavush and the Pnei Yehoshua. And then Reb Chaim brings forth another argument, which is also a powerful one. The reason that Rabbi Akiva says Machshirin Anad Doich Shabbos by Mira and by Pesach, because it's Efshar La'asoisoi Me'erev Shabbos. But most of the times, Machshirei Kiddush HaChodesh are not Efshar La'asoisoi Me'erev Shabbos, because you need to come to testify immediately after you saw the moon. So if the Eidim see the new moon Friday night and Shabbos morning, they need to come to the basin to testify. Or if they're far away, they'll get to the basin Sunday morning. That is Ef Shalasoisa Me'erev Shabbos. By its very nature. And therefore, maybe this would be another reason that Machshirim are Doich Shabbos. But Reb Chaim disagrees with this interpretation because When a Bekiva says, Machshirin aren't Derech Shabbos because Efshel Asoysa Miyerev Shabbos, it does not depend on the practicality. Machshirin are never Derech Shabbos by Pesach or by Korban and Stibur or by Yom Tov. So, this is the sugya of Machshirin. And I was machavin at least at one point to what Reb Chaim says in Shekel HaChodesh, but I think I painted a broader picture, which is very, very misyashav al aleiv. 3 different categories and 3 different levels regarding the question, are Machshirin Derech Shabbos? So regarding war, even Machshirim are Derech Shabbos. So if a soldier is called from home, and he needs to get to his unit on Shabbos, he should try to minimize Chil Shabbos, but he could be Machal Shabbos if there's no other way to reach the front. And in many other scenarios. Yesterday night, I spoke at a kenas of Kav Halacha. Kav Halacha is an amazing organization, international, and they supply halachic answers by phone or by email. 150,000 questions come in every year. They have 85 rabbanim responding. And I give inspiration and support to this organization. So yesterday night we had a kenas of rabbanim and I spoke there. And they asked me to speak about psak halacha in times of crisis like now, in times of war. And one of the points I made was that Shlomo Eger tells us that his father was very concerned, the great Rebbe Akiva Eger 200 years ago, when there was an outbreak of cholera, an epidemic. And Rebbe Akiva Eger was concerned, something that we give today, will we be able to retract when this epidemic is over? And I think we need to be very careful of the something we're giving now in times of war. Would we be able, when the war is over, to say, stop, no longer? And some psukim are so personal in their very nature that they need to be given on a personal basis, and not blanket psukim to be publicized on the internet. So some rabbanim gave a psak. Soldier going out to war could be mekel in al-chokas and hilchas nida, because he is in distress and his wife, and he's not sure he'll ever see her again. Sometimes that might be an acceptable psak, but definitely not for everyone in every circumstance. That's a very slippery slope. And the same regarding various psukim regarding hilchas nida. We need to be very, very careful. Lo lefrotz gidrot olam. So yes, it's a time of war, and sometimes we need to exercise leniency, but you need to be very, very careful. And many times psukim are individual, and they depend on the individual, on the circumstances, on so many different factors, and they should not be given blanket psukim for everyone, and I see that as the big michshol. So as I said, machshirim are derech Shabbos. And if a soldier would ask me, I'm tired, I need a boost, I'm afraid I won't be as effective as I could be fighting the enemy, I need a coffee, then I definitely would say, boil water, have your coffee, because if you feel subjectively that is what you need, then that is what you do. And this is just a tiny little example, and this could manifest itself in so many different ways. So would I give a psak? Soldiers going out to war could boil water to make coffee? Chas v'sholem, chas v'sholem. So these are individual psukim, personalized, tailor-made, depending entirely on the circumstances, on the people, the individuals. And this is something very important to bear in mind when we give psak in unusual times, like the times we are living in. So once again, I apologize for being late, and I made a shtadlis that today's shiur would be miuta machzik as a maruba, and Baruch Hashem, we went through whatever I prepared to say. I was mekatza, but I think the shiur was very clear and very organized and very masuda. So I think this is the first time in the years that we're having the shiur that I came so late. But Baruch Hashem, it was an unexpected traffic jam. I don't know whether it was a security roadblock or an accident. I was held up about a half hour in traffic. It should have taken 10 minutes. So I apologize. See you next week. Shenizkeh lahagil Torah ulahadira.